Happy lunch hour, gang. Okay, here we go. It's Saturday. We're out in the yard, and y'all are doing your thing. I'm doing my thing. I got a question for you. Anybody know what this is? Yeah, looks like sludge, huh? That is probably the best fertilizer you will ever put in your gardens, on your fruit trees, on your vegetables, on your flowers, on whatever. That, my friends, is compost tea. Now, for all of you who don't have room to put a compost pile in your yard to make compost, to recycle everything, leaves, weeds, old vegetable plants, flowers, anything like that, you can still get all the benefits. You just have to know how to do it. So let's make some of this. First and foremost, what you need is a good size canister, if you will. I've got I think it's about a 25-gallon Rural King plastic canister here. One of the big keys to doing this is to have a lid, if you can see here, that seals, okay? Seals tight. Don't just use a plastic trash can or something like that. You want something that's got a good tight seal to it. Why? Well, pretty simple. You're going to be putting stagnant water with a whole bunch of decomposing plant material sitting out in your backyard, wherever. Do you really want to attract mosquitoes? Because that is like the greatest mosquito breeding ground you could possibly get. No. Get something that seals tight so you don't have all the gnats, the mosquitoes, the bugs, and everything in it. My bucket that you just saw here, that's now 4 years old. Okay, it's well steeped. All right, you don't need to last that long. I just keep refilling it every spring with what I'm cleaning up in my yard. And again, like I said, leaves, weeds, you're pulling crap out of the garden to throw it in there. So let's take a look at that real quick. All right, so there you go. This took all of 2 minutes for me to go grab some leaves, some grass clippings. Oh, there's some weeds in there. Not grass clippings, but weeds that I just picked up. Stuff them on in, all right? And now what I want to do is kind of mash all that in there. And all that stuff is going to decompose real nicely in there. This is literally it, guys. Now, it doesn't matter what you put in there. You can put anything. Like I said, I got crabgrass in there. I've got morning glories in there. I've got leaves. Doesn't matter. The best things that you can put in there, I've also got some comfrey in there, okay? But the best things that you can put in are things like comfrey, stinging nettle, dandelions. Why? Because those contain some of the other nutrients that maybe the grass clippings or the morning glories or something like that aren't going to have. I mean, it's still March, and I mean, there's green stuff growing probably around you, unless you're way up north. But rip up some of this stuff, throw it in a bucket, and then we'll move on to the next step. I know this gets really difficult here, guys. So now all we want to do is fill this whole thing with water again. And I'll fill my container up, probably about 6 inches from the top. Granted, mine's going to look a little darker than if you're just starting this now because I've got old stuff in here. But this is all I do every year. This sits out on my back patio, summertime, wintertime, whatever, and just let it rot in here. And it turns into one of the greatest fertilizers you can possibly get. Now, y'all know me. Obviously, I also peed in this. If you know me, you know why, because I'm adding a bunch of nitrogen in here. Certainly not going to show that on camera. Don't feel like getting arrested as a let's put it this way, put on the sexual predators list. But this will steep, you can see the stuff that's down there from years ago, okay, or even probably last year. It's still going to decompose. You can see how it's already nice and rich. Give that a month, and you will have some of the richest fertilizer that you can use. Now, how to use it? There's always the big question. Once you've made this stuff, what do you do with it? Okay. Again, you don't want to use this straight, especially if you're just growing seedlings. I finished up here watering my cabbage and my beet seedlings here shortly ago and gave them some fertilizer, compost tea, if you will. But you think of what you're adding. You know, the greens give you the nitrogen, the browns give you the carbons in there for your compost, which are going to give you the potassiums and give you the phosphorus in there. The comfrey is great for stuff like that. The stinging nettle is great for that. Dandelions are pulling those minerals out from deep in the ground. Y'all know how deep a taproot for a dandelion goes. That's going to pull all those minerals from deep in the ground, and now you're giving them to your surface vegetables that have roots that maybe are 6 inches deep. So you've now brought all those minerals up from 2 feet, 3 feet in the ground, and now you're giving it to the fruits and vegetables that have roots that are maybe 6 inches deep. Compost tea is one of the best things you can do. I know I've shown you other fertilizers, the coffee grounds, the chicken bones, the dried out bananas, eggshells for calcium stuff. But if there's one thing that you are going to do, this is so simple, 5-minute fertilizer, literally, to make, and not to be done. But if you go make this now, mid-March, you know, by the time your tomatoes, your peppers, your squash, everything else are ready to be fertilized, once you've got them in the ground, you're going to have fertilizer that's going to save you a boatload of money. Just when you use this, dilute this to, I'd say, about 1/4 to 1 gallon of water. That would be appropriate. If you're going to use this on your seedlings, about 1/4 to 5 gallons of water. That's the best way to use it there, because your seedlings just can't take all that nutrients. You're going to burn them up. But once you're in the garden, once you've got them planted, you know, 1/4 to per gallon of water. You probably saw me over the years show you my sprinkler setup where I use the Miracle Grow feeder and just put a short hose on it and put it in line for my sprinklers. I put this into my sprinkler. I run it for 10 minutes. That basically drains out all the compost tea. I do that like 3 times, get my 30 minutes on my garden, get about 1 inch deep of water, you know, inch of water on the garden, and I've fertilized everything. It's so simple, it's so free that everybody should do it. I will give you this as a caveat. If you can, use rainwater, all right? If you leave your big 20-gallon bucket out in the rain and collect a bunch of water, put it under your rain gutter or do something like that, that's going to be the best case scenario. I'm on well water, so basically what I'm getting is rainwater anyway, so it's not a big deal for me. But if you are on city water, fill your bucket out of the hose or whatever and let it sit open for about 2 days so you can get all that chlorine, all that fluoride, everything to evaporate out of the water. That will give you more pure water. That's the best way to do this. But if you are looking to increase your harvests this year, and fertilizer is getting ridiculously expensive, as we all know, do what our forefathers did. Do what our ancestors did. They didn't have a Home Depot, a Walmart to go buy chemical fertilizers. They used what nature gave us. And this is about as simple as it gets, guys. I mean, right now, I'm going to be in a situation where, well, I'll show you this. I'll be in a situation right here where that bucket sits the same place it's sat for 5 years now and doesn't do anything. It's sealed up tight, no big deal there. Okay, I can't open it up. No bugs are getting in there, nothing. Granted, I don't have to worry about the deep freezes. I've got a plastic bucket, but I mean, it's been down to 9 degrees and that bucket has no problem. Why? Because you're creating that heat inside that bucket while things are decomposing. It's called anaerobic decomposition. You know, aerobic is getting air in there. That's your compost pile where you're mixing greens, browns, water, and oxygen. This is anaerobic. You're doing it just with greens, browns, and water. And I'll say it to you as many times as I can. This is the way to fertilize a garden on the cheap. All right, guys, have a great afternoon. Get out and work in the yard if you can. It's 55 degrees out here. I'm going to spend some time having fun. Have a good one. Pinball out.